of all, hello everyone, and today we are having Qasim Hassan, our esteemed guest speaker, and the person in front of you guys is 2 years part of AWS community builder. He was AWS Cloud Club captain as well, and right now he has handed over that responsibility to one of the students in his university, and he is data engineer in Royal Cyber. So you are going to get a lot from this session. Thank you so much, Qasim, for being here and giving us your precious time. And now the stage is yours.
Okay, thanks for the short and crisp welcome and also the introduction as well. I think let's start from the session, and first of all let me share my screen as well. Uh, are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, perfect. Okay, let's start the presentation. Today's topic is building data pipeline using ADF and Databricks, and let's talk about the table of content that we will gonna cover today's in the session. And first we will talk about what is Databricks and what is ADF, because the title of our presentation is data pipeline using ADF and Databricks. So I will brief little bit about Databricks and ADF. Then I will move toward the use case that I will gonna present in front of you using ADF and Databricks, and then I will show the reference architecture diagram and the retail data pipeline which I had built on the use case. Then I will show a short demo, and lastly the Q&A session. Moving further, let's talk about what is Databricks. Databricks is nothing but a multi-cloud lakehouse platform based on Apache Sparks. It is actually built by the official creators of Apache Spark, which is based on the mission like you have a unified data and AI platform which should be open and scalable. The term unified means you can do both of the workload like data analytics, data engineering, and machine learning workloads. Apart from that, the term open suggests that it should based on open standards, and scalable, it says that it should scale for lot amount of audience, a lot amount of traffic, or lot amount of data. And Databricks was solely a separate company which partnered with Databricks back in like 2 to 3 years ago, and they had partnered with Azure, and and Azure had adopted a Databricks inside itself, and they are giving the services which is now known as Azure Databricks, which is the combination of Azure plus Databricks services, which is now known as Azure Databricks. If I talk about what Databricks is actually selling out, Databricks has created a lakehouse platform. The term lakehouse tell us that it is the combination of two things that are already in the market. The first one is that data warehouse. The data warehouse was nothing but the warehouses which we use for typically structured kind of data, which is reliable and give us strong governance and performance. Apart from that, we have a lakehouse. Lakehouse was officially made for unstructured data, and it was based on open standard, and it was flexible, and more it was used for machine learning aspects as well. What Databricks is actually giving us, Databricks unifies data lake and data warehouses, and it is the one platform that unifies all of our data engineering, data analytics, and AI workloads. Means Databricks is giving the both combinations of data lake and data warehouse in a one platform. If I talk about Lakehouse platform can be built on some of the cloud providers. Let's say if I talk about this short diagram which is presented in front of you, on the bottom we have cloud services. It means that Databricks Lakehouse platform should have to run on top of some of the cloud platforms like Azure, AWS, and GCP. And apart from that, the runtime of Databricks Lakehouse is based on two main things. The first one is Spark, the second one is Delta Lake. As I had told you that Databricks was officially founded by the creators of Spark, so Spark is the runtime that is under the hood being used by Databricks Lakehouse platform, and Delta Lake is the platform which is used to store your data. And Delta Lake give us the asset transaction property, time travel, and how to manage your data versioning, which is actually given by Delta Lake. So runtime of Databricks Lakehouse is built on Sparks and Delta Lake. Apart from that, uh, the Databricks has created a workspace which is giving us the leverage to work on different data stacks. Like let's say we have a SQL or a structured data, or we want to work on analytics purposes, we can use data warehousing stack, or we can, in the other word, we can use Databricks SQL part, or SQL persona. Apart from that, if we are working on data engineering aspect, like we are building an ETL pipeline, a data pipeline, we can use the persona which is data engineering persona available in the workspace. Apart from that, if you are working with machine learning, like you are building a model, machine learning models, a deep learning model, you can use a machine learning persona from workspaces which is available in the Lakehouse platform. If I talk about how Databricks is controlling all those aspects, because initially I had told that in the last slide that Databricks was built on top of some of the cloud platforms. Okay, so Databricks has divided this Lakehouse platform into two sections. The first one is control plane and the second one is data plane. Data plane is nothing but a customer's cloud platform on which the Databricks platform is running. Let's suppose today I will gonna present a session on Azure. So my data plane will be Azure cloud platform on which I am running the Databricks platform. In the data plane, we have a cluster and storage files as well. So it's mean that our data will reside in our platform. Just we have to use control plane and do machine learning aspects, data science aspects. But under the hood, it will gonna use our VMs that are available in our cloud. Let's if I am using Azure, so VMs will be created in Azure. If I am using Azure, then Azure storage account will gonna be used, which is known as that DBFS, means Databricks file system, and actually it will gonna reside inside Azure data storage account. If I talk about control plane, in control plane, Databricks give us some of the aspects, which is web UI, cluster management, workflows, and notebooks. Web UI means in Databricks give you all the services through web. I will gonna show in front of you when I will open the Databricks in front, web UI in front of you. In web UI, Databricks offer cluster management. Through cluster management, you manage your cluster VMs which are available in data plane. Apart from these basic necessities, Databricks also offers workflows, means you can orchestrate your workflows or data pipelines on Databricks as well, but you can integrate that with Azure or another cloud in which you are working on. Let's say today I will gonna present using ADF and Databricks. Apart from that, Databricks offers some of the notebooks, means if you are building some of the notebooks, if you had worked with Jupyter Notebook, you might know what notebook actually is. So Databricks Lakehouse has different personas, like you have data plane and control plane. If I talk about Spark on Databricks, because initially I had told that and Databricks was officially found by Spark creators. So what leverages if we use Spark on Databricks? And Spark give us some of the traditional benefits. If you know about Spark, you know that Databricks use in-memory computation, which make us separately different from Hadoop. And apart from that, Databricks also inherited the property of Hadoop, which is distributed data processing. Apart from that, if you are using Spark on Databricks, you can use different languages. Like it's supposed not all languages. I had written it a bit long, a bit incorrect, but you can leverage different languages like Scala, Python, SQL, R, and Java. Apart from that, if you are using Databricks, you can build both batch processing pipelines and streaming processing pipelines. Streaming in terms of mean near real-time processing means when the data is coming, Spark notebooks will gonna process that data in the real time. Apart from that, if you are using Databricks on Spark on Databricks, you can leverage different, you can work on different kind of workloads. As I had told that Lakehouse support both data warehouse and Lakehouse, means you can work with both structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data. Apart from that, if I talk about Databricks file system is nothing but the storage account that reside inside the data plane, and it is a distributed file system which is available pre-installed in the cluster. Means whenever you create a cluster, the VMs will gonna be created, and in the VM, the data plane, in the VM in data plane, the storage account will gonna be created for you. And it is an abstraction layer which make it little bit separate from Azure account to your Databricks account, so that you can say that data persistent to the underlying cloud storage. It is also available in Azure, but it is an abstraction layer between Azure and Databricks, where your data will gonna be reside. If I talk about a little bit imaginary form, you can say that when we create cluster, Databricks file system will gonna be created, and it is nothing but it is actually reside inside your cloud storage account, which is gonna be created. This is a short intro about Databricks, and if I talk about what is ADF, ADF is nothing but a full form is that Azure Data Factory, which was primarily used for 2 to 3 purposes. Like the first one is that it can help you in orchestrating data pipelines. Means orchestrating data pipeline means it can help you to build your data pipeline and trigger on some intervals, like on a streaming fashion or in batch fashion. You can trigger your data pipelines as well. Apart from that, Azure Data Factory is now a complete ETL tool when the data flows was integrated in ADF. Using data flows, you can create your custom logic and you can create your custom transformation logic in the ADF to transform your data according to your needs. Apart from that, Azure Data Factory have more than 80 connectors, which leverages different services of Azure plus different markets connected that Azure is supporting to. If I talk about a general definition about what is ADF, ADF is a hybrid data integration service that enables you to quickly and efficiently create automated data pipelines without having to write a code. This was the beauty of ADF, because you don't have to use too much coding. You have to use the GUI part of Azure that is given to you. You can build your data pipeline using the GUI part. Apart from that, under the hood, it uses Spark and distributed processing. You don't have to worry about all those aspects. If I talk about the ecosystem that ADF is giving us on Azure, the first one is that it can be used for migration purposes. If you want to excel and make a data transformation in a periodic way, you can create it on ADF. Apart from that, if you want to orchestrate, you can build an orchestration pipeline on ADF, which I will gonna show you today. I have built my pipeline on the Databricks, but I have orchestrated it on ADF. Apart from that, if you want to use different transformation on ADF, you can use simply data flows, and you can use different transformation that you want on ADF, and you can build custom transformation data pipeline on ADF as well. If I sum it all, then ADF is nothing but an ETL tool available on Azure. If you guys know about SSIS, SQL Server, Simple Integration Service versus Data Factory, SSIS was on-prem service and ADF was on cloud-based services. SSIS support more cloud-free transformation, but on the other hand, ADF was totally a GUI based. There are some of the differences that I don't want to talk about. I don't want to read. You can just go through this all. But if I talk about ADF is more scalable, more SaaS-based it has more SaaS-based connectors, like 80 plus connectors available, and you can do event-based triggers and you can orchestrate it. And apart from that, you can use SSIS packages in ADF also. This was a simple data pipeline that can be made, or this was a complete architecture. Like in ADF, let's suppose in ADF we can first of all we create an integration runtime. Integration runtimes means what thing or what cluster that we were gonna use to run our pipelines. When we have an integration runtime, we can take the data from blob storage, or we can take it from some other resources. Like we have some, let's suppose we are taking it from SQL Server, we are taking it from third-party API. We have to create a linked service for that. Sorry. We have to create a linked service to connect that third-party API or blob storage to our ADF pipeline. Then using that linkage service, we create a data set and we do custom transformation. Like here we had used the copy data activity, and then we used data copy data and replace it somewhere else, and through that we can save data somewhere else. Like this is simple kind of a transformation that we are actually doing in ADF. This is how actually under the hood ADF is working. You have to create different activities. You have to create linked service. First of all, you have to create integration service. Then you have to create linked services. Then you put your transformations in the ADF, and then you create your linked service where you wanna save your data. This is simply an ADF working. Okay. Let's move toward more technical part of today's session, more interesting part of today's session, which is nothing but a retail case study that I had made for this session. This is nothing but, and let's suppose we have a retail data set and we want, let's say I had written the name is that Qasim online store. Let's say we have Qasim online stores and we want to process the Qasim retail's data inside on daily basis. Let's say we want to produce daily revenue of Qasim online stores. We have to use different services of Azure. Like if you want to build an ETL pipeline on Azure, and the thing that we were going to use is Azure ADF, blob storage, Databricks that I already had used. Apart from that, a little bit introduction about Medallion architecture is also being used over there. Apart from that, in Medallion architecture, we create 3 types of layer, which I will gonna explain earlier. But the objective is that we have to create an ETL pipeline using Azure and Databricks to leverage Qasim online stores to get the daily product revenue, which is the main objective. The tech stack that will be gonna use in the POC is Python, SQL, Spark, PySpark, and services that we will gonna use are Azure Data Factory, Blob Storage, and Azure Databricks. This is the. Can you please mute your mics? Yes. Mansuf, can you please mute them? Okay, thank you. This is the reference architecture diagram, which is not that much complex. I will say it is quite simple. Let's say we have a data from our retail store, which let's say I had some CSV files, which I have pushed in ADLS. Where is my cursor? Sorry. Let me just put it off. Okay. Let's say we have some CSV files available which are taken from Qasim online stores, and we have ingested those files in Azure storage. Let's say simple Azure storage account, which is ADLS. In this case, we have a raw data that we have ingested from Qasim online store in the Azure storage account, and we have used a Databricks notebook to ingest in over there. This is nothing but a bronze layer. And from bronze layer, we do little bit of transformation like data structuring and all those stuff. Then we will gonna push that data into some storage account again, which is this time is an ingested layer. First one was raw layer, the second one was ingested layer. Then we will do some of the transformation, which is more cleaner data from bronze layer, from bronze layer. Then we will ingest that data into the presentation layer. On the presentation layer, we will do some of the analyzation and aggregation to make it little bit viewable. So what this architecture is actually called, if I talk about this architecture, this is simply a 3-stage architecture, which is the first one is that the bronze, the second one is called silver, and the third one is called gold layer. In the bronze, we actually have a raw data which is actually taken from the source. From taking the data into the bronze layer, we do schema enforcement on the data, and we put the data into the silver layer, which is nothing but ingested layer. And from ingested layer, we take the data and do it little bit more cleaner according to the need. Here, our usually data scientist can take, or data scientist or machine learning engineer can take their data for machine learning model creation. Apart from that, if we talk about the third layer, which is presentation layer, after applying the transformation or aggregation according to the business needs, we create a third pipeline, which is presentation layer. We store the data in presentation or gold layer. And from presentation or gold layer, our business analyst can take the data and do business reporting as well. This was a complete architecture diagram. If I talk about if we have to automate if we have to automate this pipeline in the production, we have to use some kind of automated tools. So for that purposes, I have used ADF. In ADF, I had created this all pipeline and trigger it through ADF, and we can trigger it both on like personal requirement time, or we can use it on regular interval. Let's say every day night at 11 p.m. we want to trigger that pipeline. We can do this triggers every day, or we can do this triggers on the custom need basis. It will gonna take the data from source, ingest it into the bronze layer, then it will do schema enforcement and then put it into the transformation layer, and then from transformation layer it will convert it into the business logic layer and save the data for on our for business leaders, let's say in the presentation form, let's say in the Power BI form, Power BI dashboard form. This is simple than ETL pipeline, this which will gonna which is built on Databricks and triggering it through ADF. This was a reference diagram that I had used to explain in front of you, but in the real case, what I had made is that I had created a daily product revenue on retail. Let's say we have two type of data, which is order and order items, which is and total sales, which in which we have different columns, and on behalf of the columns, we are going to daily product revenue for those online stores. And we had created different type of notebooks that I will gonna show you in the demo, but just for now, it is not that much complete, fulfill 100% on the reference architecture diagram that I had showed you, but somehow 80 to 85% this pipeline that I had built on daily product revenue fulfill some of the aspects of reference architecture diagram. Let's move toward the demo part. In demo, we have nothing but some of the notebooks that I had created in Azure. In Azure, I had told you earlier that I had built my Azure Databricks account on Azure. So it is Azure on Databricks, which is nothing but available over there. If I talk about, I had built this Azure account, and from there I had triggered this workspace, which is available over there. In Databricks, we have different personas that I had told, like we have SQL persona, which is available over there. We have data engineering persona, which is available over there. If we want to use our machine learning workflows, we have some services available over there, which means Databricks is a unified data and AI platform for different kind of data workloads. Apart from that, this is a workspace. In workspace, I have created different kind of notebooks. The notebooks that I had created for this session is nothing but some of the pipeline, which is first one is that clean up cluster and datasets. It means if we have some cluster and dataset already pre-built in the dataset, we can clean that and we can delete all those datasets, and so our pipeline can run efficiently. Apart from that, I had performed schema enforcement, like file formatting conversion, because usually in the Databricks we use Parquet format and Delta format. So I had created a Delta format in this notebook, and then we had created some of the tables using this notebook, and then we had computed some of the daily product revenue using another notebook. Let's move over to some of the notebooks. If I talk about cleanup cluster, I did nothing but use SQL form. We can use different languages that I had told you earlier. We can use Python, Scala, SQL, and R. I had used SQL, and using SQL, I'm using a simple SQL. SQL is a language to write down in my notebook. Here I had did to drop if the Databricks branch is already created, just to make sure that when I run the further notebooks, I don't have this database already created. Apart from that, I had created some of the directories so that I can make sure that when I run the next pipelines, we don't have these directories also. But for the production level, when we will not delete these all things. We usually work from third or fourth aspects, so we are actually taking all the data in our storage, so we can do historical dashboarding and historical representation, what was our yearly sales. So we don't use this in the production, but for the first time we can use this notebook as well. Secondly, we have some file conversion. Let's say Here what is I am deleting this all widgets, and apart from that I'm creating some of the widgets also for that, so we can tag the dataset name, destination, from where we want to save, and from where we want to take our data. And these are the source directories that I'm creating using Databricks. And apart from that, here is the conversion of data into delta format. We are taking the JSON files and we are converting those JSON files into the delta format or in Parquet files. Okay, I think, and here we are creating some of the tables. Like first of all, I am creating a database. In database, we are going to create some of the bronze directories, and this is nothing but just of the show. And apart from that, we are triggering the third notebook, which is daily product revenue. Here we are actually taking a complete part of aspects. Here I had written a simple SQL files which is creating a daily product revenue. Sorry, my light has gone. And here we are creating a daily product revenue which is doing nothing but completing a complete data revenue and saving it to some of the directories. And apart from that, this was a testing file that I had created earlier. And let me run this cluster as well, because we will gonna use this cluster. Okay, here is the daily compute revenue that I daily compute revenue notebook that I had created to just test all those notebooks that I had created earlier. Here I am just doing nothing, just I'm using percentage run command, which is a magic command available in Databricks to run some of the notebooks available. The first one is that cleanup notebook, and second one is that I am giving some of the arguments, like I am using the base uh, bronze based directory, and I'm giving the gold based directory as well. Similarly, I am using the second notebook, which is file conversion, and I am running this all as well. Similarly, I had given this file for some of the other tables. Like first I was talking about, I had used it for orders data that I have. Secondly, I have used it for order items table, order items CSV that I have. Sorry, I forgot to tell about data. I had two types of files. First one is orders and second one is order item. On behalf of those two CSV files, I am creating the data pipeline. Okay, so for this purposes, we had used file conversion files for two purposes. First one was for orders and second one was for order items. Similarly, to create tables from order tables, we had uses this notebook, and similarly we had used order items for this as well. And similarly, we are just testing all those things, that we are creating all those things accurately, and we are doing this all accurately. This was all the notebook testing that I had did in Databricks as well. And then moving toward the ADF part, I had moved these all things on ADF as well. If I talk about ADF, Azure Data have different services. Like if I talk about Azure Data Factory, give us the pipeline level configuration. Like we can build different pipelines on ADF, and let me move over to this section. We can build different kind of pipelines. We can do change data capture, which is actually in preview, and in sometime it will gonna be live. Like it is in preview, but it is recently been added in RDF. And apart from that, we can use datasets. These are the datasets that I am using, orders and order item CSV that I had told you in this notebook as well. And we are using two kind of notebooks. The first one is sorry. Where I am using this all. Sorry for that. I'm just waiting. This tab should be hovered from my screen, so I can change my tab as well. I will show this again, but sometimes over the Microsoft we have some presenting and switching tab appear on the top of screen. So I'm waiting for that to just wrap up so I can use this driver notebook. So this was the thing that I was talking about. We have two type of data sets available, orders and order items, which is available over there, orders and order items, which I had stored in my DBFS, means Database file systems. And apart from that, an IDF also give us data flows. We can use custom pipelines, like I had did this custom pipeline as well for daily product revenue. but we are not talking about this today. Apart from that, Databricks also offer monitoring, from where we can monitor our data pipelines. Here we are monitoring our data pipelines, and this one is the management part, where we can create the linked service and integration runtimes. Okay, integration runtimes is nothing but where we wanna which VMs we will wanna use to run our ADF pipeline, and linked service is nothing but from where we want to connect our with which material or thing we want to connect our data ADF pipeline. Let's say we are connecting it Azure Databricks, and we are connecting with SQL, and we are connecting with some storage account as well. These are the connectors with whom we are connecting our ADF pipeline. And this is the learning center available in ADF. And let's move over the pipeline level. Okay. This is the pipeline that I had created daily product revenue. And this daily product revenue is nothing but all those notebooks that I had created over there in the Databricks. And first of all, I had created a runtime, and through that runtime, I had connected my Databricks to ADF. And after connecting that, I had built this pipeline. And in this pipeline, I am taking all those notebooks that I had created in the Databricks and I had shown you earlier. I had taken clean cluster and datasets notebook, and from that I had run two pipelines, which was one was for order items and one was for orders. And secondly, I had tested, I had created SQL tables. One was for orders and one more for order items. And I had shown you all the code available already in these files. And similarly, I had connected these all files with some daily product revenue file section, and which is nothing but daily product revenue, nothing but this file, which I had already shown you earlier. And if I want to trigger this data pipeline using ADF, we can simply use trigger and trigger it now. This is custom pipe and custom triggerage that I am doing in front of you right now, but you can schedule this triggerage as well. Okay, here I had did some of the parameter tuning as well for this pipeline, so I can say that my data, where my data will gonna be stored. Here I am giving some of DBFS paths where my bronze data will gonna be saved, where my golden layer data will gonna be saved, and from where my raw data will gonna be taken from. Okay, I'm just running this all, and my data pipeline is going to run. Okay, simply I can click on view data pipeline, and my data pipeline is going to be run. We have to wait for some minutes so that our data pipeline can be created. Till then, I'm gonna move toward the presentation part. So later on, when I will gonna move, I will gonna move toward this part as well. So I will show you my pipeline is completely running. I think it is run, and these two notebooks are getting run right now. So I think let's wait for 2 minutes right now. I'm just waiting and seeing this all green text in all those notebooks when my pipeline will gonna be completely run. So I am just giving a live demo in front of you that my pipeline is getting run. I am just waiting for the pipeline to be run so I can complete and wind up this demo. These two notebooks are also been completed and running under the hood in ADF, and these two pipelines are right now in pipeline to be run. And the cluster that they are using is nothing but this cluster that I had created in LinkedIn service. These two pipelines are getting run right now. Let's wait for 1.5 minutes, I think. These two pipelines are completed and this is how my complete data pipeline is in front of you. So this is how we can build custom data pipelines which are created on Databricks, and we are orchestrating those pipelines on ADF as well. This is how my complete pipeline is succeeded. Okay, let's move towards presentation. I think I had wind up all those aspects that I can cover. Let's move toward the question and answer session. If you guys have any question, you can ask.
Guys, if you are having any sort of question apart from this session, or you want to know about data engineering or pathway to that thing or anything else related to this field, you can ask here in the chat section. And like you can also use your mic to ask the question.
Yes. Apart from that, if you have any question later on, Monsef, I will suggest to drop my LinkedIn as well in the chat section. You can reach out to me on the LinkedIn as well.
For sure, for sure.
Okay. Okay. Can you please completely write down your question in the chat section by statistics for data analytics? I didn't understand what type of question or what thing you want to know from me. You can reach out to me on the LinkedIn that is shared by Monsif Raza. Data analytics के लिए statistics जरूरी है. You should know basis of the statistics. I will say start and doing some practical stuff rather than just thinking about this. Statistics is necessary for data analytics. With the passage of time, you will get to know about the necessary statistics that you want. If I share my one of my experience, I didn't know much of the statistics, but in my one of the project that I was doing in my company, I had learned more about Bayesian analysis and all those stuffs during the project. So I will say you can learn basic of statistics, but start doing practical stuffs as well. What exactly is the prerequisite and how to get started on data engineering track? Okay, and there are two main things that I will say to start from to get into the data engineering part. The first one is that get to know about SQL part. SQL is most important for data engineering aspect as well. And tediously, if I talk about SQL, Databricks is also leveraging SQL part as well in the depth. Apart from that, if I talk about the most used language for data engineering, it is nothing but a Python language. Apart from that, cloud is taking a hype in data engineering. So if you can mix the flavor of data engineering tools with cloud, it will gonna boom your resume. So from the starting perspective, I will say SQL and Python will gonna start your career, and slowly you will gonna move toward and you will get to know more about tools and you will get into the field of data engineering. Once if I will suggest take some of this screenshot so we can I can share on my LinkedIn as well. If not everyone, can you please share any resources for someone? Okay, okay, okay. If I talk about resources, you can start learning from Coursera. There is an IBM specialization available on Coursera, IBM data engineering specialization on Coursera, which is quite good to get started with data engineering. Remote internship. My company was giving an internship in data engineering aspect, but recently we got closed on those part as well. If you talk about, if I talk about different remote internship, there are many internships available on LinkedIn as well. You can just search out it on the LinkedIn. Apart from that, if I have any, I will share on my LinkedIn as well. There are multiple tools available for some works. If are using with Databricks, what are the main advantages of this? Lakehouse is the one main thing, and apart from that, open and scalability factor is the thing that is more leveraged in Databricks as well. Apart from that, Databricks is now leveraging LLMs, means large languages models, and machine learning workflow is heavily gonna used on Databricks as well. So if you use Databricks, you will get to know that there are more things that Databricks is actually giving. Okay. Or what general tools or path to start? For the path perspective, I had suggested that there is a specialization on Coursera, IPM data engineering specialization. You can start from there as well. You will get to know more about data engineering from that specialization.
Kasim, will you please share the first slide of your whole presentation so that we can have some screenshots?
Sure. Let me just do this all.
We want a smile. Wonderful.
Okay. I will suggest to take the
Yes,
screenshot
it's
with
done.
this custom pipeline as well. It is more of the thing that I had used.
It's done.
Okay, thank you. Yes, anyone have any question? And I think we should wind up this session as well. Over to you, Munsif.
Okay, thank you so much, Kasim Hassan. It was really wonderful having you with us, and we learned a lot about data engineering and all that, and especially that pipeline that you created and that live demonstration of the concepts that you mentioned earlier. It was really wonderful, and we got to know about a lot of new things about data engineering. And I hope that the participants also got something out of this session, and I hope that it will be helpful for them in their future life. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. It was wonderful having you all, and we really appreciate your presence in this session. And once again, thank you so much, Kasim Hassan. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Allah Hafiz. Good night.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for your presence. Allah Hafiz, and have a good night.